Good afternoon. It's 2:41 p.m. on August 21st, 2020. I'm going to do something. This is the first time I've tried to do this. And I will start by saying that, as far as I understand, there's nothing illegal about me doing this. And in terms of it being ethical, those are matters that need to be publicly discussed, and part of the public discussion needs to include disclosure. Last year, after several years of attempting to file reports with various federal agencies as well as various local agencies around my efforts to investigate what started out as reports of fraud involving the Health and Human Services system, and then being connected to or being identifiable as part of what I allege is a pattern of racketeering activity. I began to provide public comments to various federal agencies as well as the Federal Reserve. This had followed a situation wherein I was attempting to do what I could to address not only acts of identity theft, but also provide what I had hoped to be a foundation for whatever could potentially have been made viable or usable as a result of my reporting efforts. So at various times, I had attempted to file pro se legal filings. I had attempted to have acknowledgement of my capacity to represent myself pro hoc vis in a federal district proceeding. I had attempted to apply various aspects of the Texas Code concerning the Office of Adjutant General and its relationship to the Attorney General. And I had also attempted to apply at least twice through what I understood to be processes that were official processes, or at least people I could contact for information on official process for a to obtain a securities license, with an understanding that part of what had happened is that I had been defrauded of my identity and that it had been used in acts of securities fraud. And so it behooved me to attempt to acquire my own securities license in order to address whatever recovery would be a result of the conclusion of any investigative efforts connected to my endeavors. This has not, to this time, materialized in anything recognizable as legitimate. And this also correlates with my efforts to, on at least three formal occasions through standard processes, ask for implementation or application of a executive order concerning potential for intervening to forestall chemical and biological weapons attacks that revealed a process whereby I could have requested assistance with a sort of background check and or confirmation on certifications I had been issued in non-destructive testing beginning in September of 2017. So I've done not only a lot of reporting, I've done not only what could be a lot of potential business ideas connected to security, cybersecurity, and or anti-money laundering, but I've also attempted to go through formal processes, including public comment. And I've learned a lot about the public comment period to the Federal Reserve situation. I actually understand now that public comments are a form of currency, and that's not only important for the mandated reporting periods and necessary mandated public comment periods that a lot of agencies have, but they actually constitute a form of currency that can be used in terms of setting benchmarks or in terms of evaluating information that can be used in other development. And so, in my public comments to the Federal Reserve, I frequently remark on how failure to intercede in other agencies have created potential perils that need to be addressed. And insofar as these concerns related primarily to financial crime or crimes that intersected through the financial sector and or that were financed through programs and or areas under the policy reach of the Department of Treasury and or the Federal Reserve, then it's important that whatever is reflected in the standards or benchmarks or obligations that are connected to policy changes at that level also acknowledge the need for enforcement when it comes to financial crimes. Now, how the other people I commented with understood this, how the people who coded the metrics and categorized the public comments and positioned them in the manner they did take this is something that's a part of the ongoing process. But what it's let me know is that I actually, in a lot of ways, was connected to very wealthy people. very wealthy people that did not get acknowledged for their wealth in a manner that actually gave us cash. And oftentimes, also, if we actually follow through on, revealed a very significant illegal expropriation of our credit and our political and other kinds of capital. And so, one of the things that we're addressing right now is how these acts of identity fraud and how these misrepresentations of what is an obligation versus a debt, and how one can meet obligations, as well as what are considered to be loans versus what is actually part of a capital outlay process, are impacted by refusal to obtain our informed consent or full disclosure. And it's very important to know that we are over 1 year. We are 1 year overdue in understanding that the American financial system was a part of a global systematology that had committed to implementing certain benchmarks for greater disclosure on origin of financial income and financial data via adherence to and participation in the Basel Banking Conventions that was set to go into effect last July. And they postponed it the entire time that since to this time they have not implemented that, despite the fact they were bound to by that convention. And so we are dealing with those consequences. I'm saying this as an introduction. This is part one, and I will go to part two next.